girl with a preppy vibe. Came to the spot with a friend of mine. She caught my eye. From the beginning, I was hooked. I can't tell a lie. Fresh, dressed, and fly. I respect her mind. Some dude trying to impress, but looking goofy at the same time. He bugging, she looking. I'm going for mine. Confidently, I approach with that eye-to-eye contact. She smiling while cute girl with a preppy vibe. Came to the spot with a friend of mine. She caught my eye. From the beginning, I was hooked. I can't tell a lie. Fresh, dressed, and fly. I respect her mind. Some dude trying to impress, but looking goofy at the same time. He bugging, she looking. I'm going for mine. Confidently, I approach with that eye-to-eye contact. She smiling while
Alexander Ingersoll, One America News. First of all,
All right, y'all. I finally got it figured out. Can you guys hear me? Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me. I'm gonna assume that you guys can because I don't see the little microphone thing telling me that I'm muted on the backstage. Sorry for all the technical difficulties and everything. But yes, y'all. So I'm STEMFashionista and welcome to the check-in. We're going to get into it. As you guys know, last night we were anticipating an 8 p.m. situation. However, President Trump was able to come to some type of double-sided ceasefire, if you will, right before the 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline. Now, as you guys may have heard today, um, Iran is still kind of like stopping the ships from going through because of what's going on over in Lebanon. Okay, so you may have heard how Israel is very adamant saying that Lebanon and what's going on with them is not a part of this quote unquote ceasefire. Okay. And with all that going on, we have President Trump providing all types of posts and updates, if you will, on Truth Social. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into some of those. Let me pull up the first one, y'all. Let me go ahead on my tablet here so I can read it to you. Give me 1 second because I can't read what's on that screen. It is too tiny. Okay, so that one says, all right. 1 second. This I did not realize that President Trump posted this much on Truth Social. But yes, okay. He posted a big day for world peace. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Likewise, so has everyone else. The US of A will be helping with the traffic buildup in the Strait of Hormuz. There will be lots of positive action. Big money will be made. Iran can start the reconstruction process. We'll be loading up with supplies of all kinds and just quote unquote hanging around in order to make sure that everything goes well. I feel confident that it will. Just like we are experiencing in the United States, this could be the golden age of the Middle East. President Donald J. Trump. So that is what he put on Truth Social 19 hours ago. Okay. Then we have another one from President Trump. What do you guys think about that? I see where some of you are saying that we have David Zarowski here. Welcome back. Saying that Netanyahu is not listening to Trump. Exactly. We got Corn Plum saying big money, LOL. Then we got David Zarowski saying Trump is the emperor with new clothes. Also, we got Rob Spons here. Welcome to the check-in. James Ferris. Hey, how you doing? Doing well. And lastly, we got Corn Plum saying the golden age. What an idiot. So he had another post, y'all. Let me put this one up for you guys. Okay, it says the United States will work closely with Iran, which we have determined has gone through what will be a very productive regime change. There will be no enrichment of uranium, and the United States will, working with Iran, dig up and remove all of the deeply buried B-2 bombers, nuclear dust. It is now and has been under very exacting satellite surveillance, Space Force. Nothing has been touched from the date of attack. We are and will be talking tariff and sanctions relief with Iran. Many of the 15 points have already been agreed to. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So that was what he posted 12 hours ago. Okay. What do you guys think about that? We have Craftsman saying, and welcome to the check-in. We're stuck between two lunatics that's been fighting since biblical times. We may be waiting a while. David Zarowski said Operation Epic Failure. So we have another post from President Trump that he put out here today. Let's see. Uh-oh. It didn't up. Okay, the new post didn't upload. That's fine. I'm gonna read it to you. So he said, I'm gonna take this off real fast. So the another post he put up 12 hours ago says that a country supplying military weapons to Iran will be immediately tariffed on any and all goods sold to the United States of America, 50% effective immediately. There will be no exclusions or exemptions. President DJT. And I think we have one more that he posted. And this was posted at 12:04 p.m. It says numerous agreements, lists, and letters are being sent out by people that have absolutely nothing to do with the USA Iran negotiation. In many cases, they are total fraudsters, charlatans, and worse. They'll be rapidly exposed after our federal investigation is completed. There's only one group of meaningful points that are acceptable to the United States, and we will be discussing them behind closed doors during these negotiations. These are the points that are the basis on which we agreed to a ceasefire. It is something that is reasonable and can be easily dispensed with. It's very much like fake news CNN last night, headlining a source that has no power or authority to write a letter claiming great authority. President Donald J. Trump. So I think that's all he has posted today that might be of interest to us. Oh, okay. 3 minutes ago, he posted again, y'all. He says NATO wasn't there when we needed them, and they won't be there if we need them again. Remember Greenland, that big, poorly run piece of ice. President DJT. Yes. So those are the updates for right now from President Trump on his Truth Social page. So yes, y'all, there were a lot of press conferences held today regarding the ceasefire. And so before we get into it, let me see what you guys have here. We have let's see, we have someone named Remain Confident One in the chat saying that Black folks, mind your Black business, stack your money is the only thing you can count on. Aren't you tired of being disappointed and treated like a second-class citizen? Do you not think I'm stacking my money on this screen here? Moving on. We have craftsmen saying we're not worse positioned. We don't need the straight open. We produce our own oil. Okay. Oh, he's responding to Zarowski. David saying we are in a worse position than we were 41 days ago. Okay. We have Doom Buggy here saying, how can you believe this man if he told you the sky is blue? The man is crazy, and every time he opens his mouth, he makes less sense and tells more lies. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at Miss Karoline Leavitt's press conference today. She had a lot of insightful information, and she answered some questions too. So let's go ahead and get into that.
With respect to the 2-week ceasefire announced by President Trump last night, this is a victory for the United States of America that the president and our incredible military made happen. From the very beginning of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump stated this would be a 4 to 6 week military operation to dismantle the military threat posed by the radical Islamic Iranian regime. Thanks to the unbelievable capabilities of America's war fighters, the United States has achieved and exceeded those core military objectives in just 38 days. The U.S. military destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, crushing the regime's ability to manufacture weapons that they and their proxies use to maim and kill Americans and terrorize the world. Iran's ability to build and stockpile ballistic missiles and long-range drones has also been set back by years compared to where it was 6 weeks ago prior to the launch of Operation Epic Fury.
Let me just say this. So you guys do know that they're going to be making sure they're going to highlight all the things they've done with this Operation Epic Fury, because at this point, it's more like a propaganda war, in my opinion. You know, whoever can talk the loudest saying they did the best thing, that they're the winner, is what they're going to be doing. Okay. So you're going to hear throughout these videos I'm going to play the different U.S. people, people in his cabinet administration talking about how they met the objectives and da 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 da, but yet Strait of Hormuz really is still closed from what I'm understanding. So let's get back into it.
We destroyed the vast majority of Iran's ballistic missiles, launcher vehicles, and long-range attack drones through more than 450 strikes on ballistic missiles and approximately 800 strikes on Iran's drone launching units and storage facilities. In total, more than 13,000 targets across Iran were struck. Again, this is in the matter of just 38 days. Meanwhile, the Iranian Navy was completely annihilated. The United States destroyed more than 150 naval vessels in total, including 16 entire classes of Iranian warships. Despite once being the largest undersea force in the Middle East, Iran now has 0 submarine vessels. 97% of Iran's once massive inventory of more than 5,000 naval mines has also been targeted and destroyed. Iran's air forces are functionally and operationally irrelevant at this point, after the United States maintained total air dominance over their country for weeks on end.
Let me just say this. So we're going to hear Hegseth make a similar comment about the maintaining superiority over the airspace in Iran. But didn't we just have the Easter miracle the other day, where they had to rescue those 2 pilots who were flying over Iran and the plane got shot down? Okay, we'll get back to the video.
To underscore the significance of this, before Operation Epic Fury, the Iranian Air Force would fly between 30 to 100 flights per day. Today, that number is 0. Iran's ability to fund and support its terrorist proxies has been greatly reduced. At this point, Iran can no longer distribute weapons to its proxies in the region. And most importantly, Iran will not be able to acquire nuclear weapons. Prior to the start of this successful operation, Iran was aggressively expanding its short-range ballistic missile arsenal. Through these weapons and its navy, Iran was attempting to build a military buildup around their country that would pose an imminent and existential threat to the United States military assets in the Middle East, our allies in the region, and ultimately the free world. Iran was pursuing this dangerous and aggressive strategy for one reason: to hold the entire world hostage to its terrorist ambitions. The Iranians aim to use their expanded military capabilities as a shield around their country to continue achieving their ultimate goal internally, building nuclear bombs. But their murderous and evil plans have been blown up, quite literally and figuratively, along with their military, their nuclear program, and most of their senior leadership, including the former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Their command and control structures were also massively disrupted after being struck more than 2,000 times. Many of their remaining leaders are paralyzed in fear and no longer enjoy the freedom to move around their country freely and meet openly. Thanks to the unmatched excellence of our warriors at the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, the world has just witnessed a historically swift and successful military triumph. President Trump started Operation Epic Fury with strategic military objectives, and the United States has clearly achieved them. As we mark this progress, we also remember and honor the 13 American heroes who laid down their lives in this noble effort. I know President Trump and our grateful nation honors their ultimate sacrifice, and we will never forget them. May God bless their families. The valiant efforts of all of our incredible service members created maximum leverage for the President of the United States, allowing he and his leadership team to engage in tough negotiations over the past couple of weeks that have now created an opening for a diplomatic solution and long-term peace in the Middle East. The president's maximum pressure and the leverage created by the success of Operation Epic Fury led to the Iranian regime asking for and ultimately agreeing to a ceasefire proposal with the United States.
Yeah, I'm seeing on the news right now that Pakistan and Iran is saying that Lebanon is supposed to be a part of this ceasefire, but that um but Trump and Israel are saying that it's not. So yeah, okay, let's keep it going.
Iran could no longer tolerate being bombed or taking the gamble of what was to come following President Trump's 8 p.m. deadline last night. Iran has agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz, and as the president said, we have received a proposal from the Iranians that has been determined to be a workable basis on which to negotiate. I've seen a lot of inaccurate coverage today from the media about these negotiations and these plans already. So let me be clear and correct the record. The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team. Many outlets in this room have falsely reported on that plan as being acceptable to the United States, and that is false. With the president's deadline fast approaching and the United States military completely decimating Iran with each passing hour, the regime acknowledged reality to the negotiating team. They put forward a more reasonable and entirely different and condensed plan to the president and his team. President Trump and the team determined the new modified plan was a workable basis on which to negotiate and to align it with our own 15-point proposal. The president's red lines, namely the end of Iranian enrichment in Iran, have not changed. And the idea that President Trump would ever accept an Iranian wish list as a deal is completely absurd. The president will only make a deal that serves in the best interests of the United States of America, and he as a negotiating team will focus on this effort over the next 2 weeks, so long as the Strait of Hormuz remains open with no limitations or delays. These extraordinarily sensitive and complex negotiations will take place behind closed doors over the course of the next 2 weeks. I would strongly advise the media against running with narratives that have no basis in fact. What Iran says publicly or feeds to all of you in the press is much different than what they communicate to the United States, the president, and his team privately. Never underestimate President Trump's ability to successfully advance America's interests and broker peace. President Trump has a proven track record of achieving good deals on behalf of the United States and the American people, and he will.
I just don't understand how they didn't get it clear, crystal clear, abundantly clear about Lebanon when you've had Israel, I think they moved further into southern Lebanon, that's what I heard last week. How is Lebanon not a part of this ceasefire? So they expect for Iran to stop, to let the Strait of Hormuz get back open, and you still got a whole other war going on next door? Like, somebody's is not, does not make, it's not making sense to me. Okay, we have what y'all saying here? We have Craftsman saying, no, we haven't. If you look at the overall global economy, we are succeeding. Every country is filling it, and we're filling it the least. Floating Sun saying Trump making gas price great again. Boomlucky says, Craftsman, if lives, munitions, and hardware were free, you would talk about winning. We have official order pounder saying now China and Russia can move in and offer protection and drop the US dollar. It bound to happen. The stock market will crash as well, Craftsman, or could crash. Okay, let's get back to Miss Leavitt here.
Only accept one that puts America first. With that, I will take your questions today. I'm sure you have a lot of them. In our new media seat, we have Shane Harris with the AMAC Newsline. Shane, thank you for being here.
One thing to note is she said earlier that the 15-point plan was provided by the United States a couple weeks ago, which Iran apparently, did not accept it. And then Iran provided a 10-point plan to the United States, which the first version of that, Ms. Leavitt was saying that it wasn't a serious offer and that they went back to the drawing board and provided a second 10-point plan to the United States, which that is the one that Trump is saying is doable. So Yeah, I thought it was interesting. She made sure to point out that they provided two options for this 10-point ceasefire agreement. So there's that. So then we have Floating Sun saying there are two wars, U.S. fighting China and Iran, and Israel fighting its own war. Craftsman is saying we never made nothing off Iran's oil to start with. It's been black market to China. Okay, let's get into these questions that Miss Leavitt is going to be responding to.
Kick us off.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Caroline. Two questions for you. First, following the president's announcement of the ceasefire, if this is indeed the end of hostilities in Iran, what is the president's message to the American people about what was achieved for our country through Operation Epic Fury?
Sure. I think I just laid out a significant portion of that in my opening remarks. 6 weeks ago, the president looked the American people in the eye directly, and he told them that he launched this operation to take out the imminent threat that was posed by Iran. And that threat has now been greatly destroyed. Their navy, their missiles, their defense industrial base, and their desire and their plan to build a nuclear bomb inside their country is no longer going to be allowed, can no longer happen, thanks to the remarkable success of Operation Epic Fury over the course of the last 38 days. That has been absolutely achieved, and now we're moving into the next phase of this, which is a negotiating period to put some fine points on this and to hopefully broker an agreement that can achieve long-term peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, and then second, what is the president's message to American seniors who have a much higher voter participation rate and they're likely to be a key swing vote in the midterm elections?
Well, the president loves our seniors across the country, and as you know, the president signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut last year, which greatly reduced taxes on Social Security for our seniors. In fact, thanks to the Working Families Tax Cut, nearly 90% of seniors will no longer pay tax on their Social Security. That's a huge win for our seniors and also for our middle class and working families across the country with the no tax on tips provision and the no tax on overtime. Next week is tax week. You'll hear a lot from the president about how his policies have benefited the American people, and I'm proud to report that the president will be traveling next week to the great states of Nevada and Arizona to tout this historic accomplishment over the course of the next week. Thank you for being here, Shane. Gabe.
Iranian state media is saying that Iran has now closed off the Strait of Hormuz today in response to Israeli attacks on Lebanon. What's the White House response to that? And you just listed many military successes, I understand that, but strategically, how is the administration arguing that Iran does not have more economic leverage than it did before the start of the war?
Sure. Well, with respect to the first reporting out of Iranian state media, the president was made aware of those reports before I came to the podium. That is completely unacceptable. And again, this is a case of what they're saying publicly is different privately. We have seen an uptick of traffic in the Strait today, and I will reiterate the president's expectation and demand that the Strait of Hormuz is reopened immediately, quickly and safely. That is his expectation. It has been relayed to him privately that is what's taking place, and these reports publicly are false.
Caroline, the president yesterday threatened that a whole civilization would die if a ceasefire deal wasn't reached, understanding that Iranian leaders have previously said death to America. But why is it appropriate for the president of the United States to use that kind of language when talking about civilian targets? And was the president mocking Islam by signing off his True Social post over the weekend, praise be to Allah?
Now, y'all heard that question because you guys asked me on this live the other day that that Trump was mocking them when he said praise be to Allah. And this reporter just asked the same thing to Karoline Leavitt here on this screen. So let's hear her answer, okay? And he was asking about, do you think using, open the effing straight as being appropriate language? He asked about that too. Let's hear her response.
Wouldn't that antagonize Muslim allies across the world?
Well, I understand the questions about the president's rhetoric, but what the president cares most about is results. And in fact, his very tough rhetoric and his tough negotiating style is what has led to the result that you are all witnessing today. Iran publicly acknowledging last night that they have agreed or that they wanted this ceasefire with the United States because they no longer could tolerate being bombed by our very powerful and lethal military, and that they have committed to the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which the president will hold them accountable for, and it's something the administration is closely monitoring in real time.
So,
Danny.
should the world not take his word word seriously?
The world should take his word very seriously in understanding that the president is always most interested in results. And it was the Iranians who backed down, not President Trump. He said that they would face very grave consequences, as you just laid out, by the 8 p.m. deadline if they did not agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And what did they do last night? They agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Danny.
Thanks, Caroline. Would President Trump like to see Lebanon included in this peace deal? Because as you know, there have been increased Israeli strikes on Lebanon today with dozens of casualties there.
Sure. Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. That has been relayed to all parties involved in the ceasefire. As you know, Prime Minister Netanyahu put out a statement last night in support of the ceasefire, in support of the United States' efforts, and he's also assured the president they'll continue to be a helpful partner throughout the course of the next 2 weeks.
Is there any thought, though, that the president might like to see Lebanon included at a future date, given that it seems to be causing or potentially undermining the Iran ceasefire?
Again, this will continue to be discussed, I am sure, between the President and Prime Minister Netanyahu, the United States and Israel, and all of the parties involved. But at this point in time, they're not included in the ceasefire deal. Jeff.
Thank you. Caroline, will the U.S. take part in talks with Iran in Islamabad on Friday?
I can announce that the president is dispatching his negotiating team, led by the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Witkoff, and Mr. Kushner to Islamabad for talks this weekend. The first round of those talks will take place on Saturday morning local time, and we look forward to those in-person meetings.
What role does the president see for the U.S. in monitoring or helping with the Strait of Hormuz going forward?
I think the president commented on that this morning. We're going to continue to monitor it very, very closely. We will be helpful in any way that we can, but we fully expect Iran to do this, and the president has made that quite clear as well. It's, again, as his statement said last night, this ceasefire is subject to the safe reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Again, this was just determined last night. We understand things take time, but that's the president's expectation, and he will hold everyone to it. Sure, in the green blazer.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure. And then in front of you. But Andrew, you can go ahead.
All right.
You're not wearing a green blazer.
I am actually wearing a green blazer.
It's a little brown to me, but go ahead.
Fair enough. Regarding the president's rhetoric, when the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2003, George W. Bush said in a message to the Iraqi people that the military campaign was directed, quote, against the lawless men who rule your country and not against you. Yesterday, the president threatened to destroy Iran's civilization, the entire civilization.
You sure did.
Not the Iranian government, but the Iranian civilization, the Iranian people. The U.S. has been a moral leader for most of its history by fighting wars against other governments, not against civilizations. How can the president claim that America can ever have the moral high ground if he's threatening to destroy civilizations and not casting wars as fights against other governments?
Andrew, I think you should take a look at the actions of this president over the course of the past 6 weeks and the actions of our brave men and women in our United States military who have taken out essentially taken out the military of a rogue Islamic regime that has chanted death to America for 47 years, that has killed and maimed thousands of American soldiers over the course of the last 5 decades. The president absolutely has the moral high ground over the Iranian terrorist regime, and for you to even suggest otherwise is frankly insulting.
With all due respect, Caroline,
Go ahead.
with all due respect,
Go ahead.
there is...
She cut him straight off.
Given what we've seen in Lebanon today and the increased attacks from Israel, I mean, is there any concern that Netanyahu is trying to kill the ceasefire?
The president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu last night. In that private conversation, Prime Minister Netanyahu relayed exactly what he said to the world publicly, that he supports the president and Israel remains a key ally and partner to the United States. They've been a tremendous partner over the course of the past 6 weeks, and we thank them for their heroic efforts as well. The president had that conversation last night, and that was relayed to the world publicly as well. Reagan, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I have a question for you on Iran, and then I have a question on the Dignity Act as well. On Iran, it's been reported that the ceasefire was struck after the involvement of 2 unlikely factors, J.D. Vance and China. What role did those parties play in striking a deal?
Well, Vice President Vance has played a very significant and a key role in this since the very beginning. Of course, he's the president's right-hand man. He is the Vice President of the United States. He's been involved in all of these discussions, and as I just announced, he'll be leading this new phase of negotiations in Islamabad later this week. With respect to China, there were conversations that took place between top levels of our government and China's government. The president has great respect for President Xi and a great working relationship with him and with that country, and he looks forward to visiting China in just a few weeks.
That's going to probably get pushed out.
It's getting a fresh push through Congress. It would give some illegal immigrants in the country a path to citizenship. What's the White House's position on this legislation, and would the president sign it if it made it to his desk? Honestly, Reagan, I haven't spoken to the president about the legislation, but I will have that conversation, and we'll get you our formal position on it as soon as we can. You're welcome. Go ahead.
From big to small. From sporty to...
The president suggested in an interview this morning that he would support a joint U.S.-Iran venture to charge tolls for ships going through the strait. Does the president believe that the U.S. should earn revenue from the Strait of Hormuz going forward?
It's an idea the president has floated, as you know, and it's something that will continue to be discussed over the course of the next 2 weeks. But the immediate priority of the president is the reopening of the strait without any limitations, whether in the form of tolls or otherwise.
And on the highly enriched uranium,
Well, that's not happening.
Has Iran given the administration any indication that it would simply turn over the enriched uranium, or is this an expectation that the president has that he would have to send in ground troops in order to do that?
This is on the top of the priority list for the president and his negotiating team as they head into this next round of discussions. And as I said in my opener, that is a red line that the president is not going to back away from, and he's committed to ensuring that takes place. We hope it will be through diplomacy.
But have they given any indication that they would turn it over?
They have.
They have?
Yes. Trevor.
The latest news out of Iran is that the air defenses have been activated in several cities, including Isfahan, and that explosions have been heard in Isfahan. Who is bombing Iran right now?
Were those reports just as of a few minutes ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously I'll have to go back and check with the national security team. I'm standing out here with all of you, but I will do that and we will get you an answer, okay?
And just on the civilization question that we've been talking about.
And I would just add to that point, again, I haven't seen these reports. I'm not verifying them. Not that I don't trust you, Trevor, but I want to go back and check with the experts here at the White House. I would just say, and I would echo what the Vice President said this morning, this is a fragile truce. Ceasefires are fragile by nature. We've seen this with respect to the 12-day war with Iran and Israel last year. It takes time sometimes for these ceasefires to be fully effectuated. And one of the results of Operation Epic Fury was we completely dismantled Iran's command and control center, which makes it difficult for them to pass messages up and down the chain. And so we understand that. I would caution a little bit of patience, but of course we want to see the ceasefire effectuated and abided by all parties as quickly as possible.
Thank you. And the American presidential administrations, going back to Ronald Reagan, have said this formulation about nuclear war, that a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. Is that still the view of this administration, given the president's comments about civilization?
I have no change in our view on that policy. Katie.
Thanks, Caroline. I'm just, given the gravity of what he said yesterday, what was your understanding of what he meant when he said, this civilization is going to be eliminated?
I think it was a very, very strong threat from the President of the United States.
It's pretty clear.
That led the Iranian regime to cave to their knees and ask for a ceasefire and agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. So it was a very strong threat that led to results. And as the Secretary of War stated at the Pentagon this morning, it was not an empty threat by any means. The Pentagon had a target list that they were ready to hit go on at 8 p.m. last night if the Iranian regime had not agreed to open the strait, which they did, and I think that's something we should all be grateful for.
The United States is a moral leader in the world, given that
I was asked this exact same question by your colleague Andrew in the back, and I think, again, the insinuation by anyone in this room that Iran somehow has the moral high ground over the United States of America is insulting, considering the atrocities that they have committed against our people and our military over the past 5 decades. John, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. 2 questions for you. One has to do with a statement, a joint statement put out this morning by some of America's European allies, our NATO allies. And in that joint statement, they said regarding the Strait of Hormuz, our governments will contribute to ensuring freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. What's the administration's reaction to that joint statement? Does that smooth things over when the president meets with NATO Secretary General a little bit later this afternoon?
I have a direct quote from the President of the United States on NATO, and I will share it with all of you. They were tested and they failed. And I would add, it's quite sad that NATO turned their backs on the American people over the course of the last 6 weeks when it's the American people who have been funding their defense.
So Trump is meeting today, or should have met today, with someone from NATO. So we'll probably get into that on tomorrow, like what happened at that meeting. Let's keep this going.
As you know, President Trump will be meeting with Secretary Ruta in a couple of hours here at the White House, and I know he looks forward to having a very frank and candid conversation with him.
And then secondly,
That man
in
had to come
regards
to
to
the United
this
States
conflict,
to talk
38
about
days,
this
as you pointed
US
out,
moving out
President
of
Trump
NATO.
has said that there's been regime change. Has that regime change led to more freedoms for the Iranian people?
I think that's a question that's being asked a little bit too early, John, and we hope that is the case, but it's something that has yet to be seen.
I mean, I saw a video of the Iranians out partying with the ceasefire. So I don't know if these Iranians are, are not in a state of freedom, if you will. Not what I saw, but we'll get to that a little bit later on in our show here. Let's keep this going.
Eamon.
Karoline, on this question of tolling by the Iranians in the Strait of Hormuz, I've heard you talk about a number of red lines that the president has in this negotiation, but I haven't heard you say that Iranian tolling in the Strait of Hormuz is a red line. Would it be acceptable to the United States at the end of all this if the Iranians are able to charge tolls in the Strait of Hormuz?
I think the president was very clear and simplistic in his language last night in his Truth Social post, where he said that this ceasefire is subject to the free, safe, and immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. That's very plain language, and it should be taken at face value.
You mean free
Carrie.
of charge?
Carrie, go ahead. Without limitation, including tolls, yes. Carrie.
A quick follow-up on the tolling. Why would the U.S. allow Iran to collect tolls from the Strait of Hormuz? That's not something that we've opposed for a number of years now.
Again, that's not something we've said that we've definitively accepted. The joint venture is something that was proposed by the president, but he was very clear in his statement last night. He wants to see the strait reopened immediately without limitation, and that's something we're going to hold them to. Yes, in the blue.
And second question on
family and friends in Iran. I myself am Iranian, and I've been talking to them through the blackout. One of my family members yesterday said goodbye to me. So what message should we be sending Iranians when they message me saying what should they be doing right now? How should they stay safe? Because they really don't know what to do.
I think the president's main priority, and my main priority as his spokeswoman, is to make sure that clear messages are sent to the American people, of course, which is my job today. With respect to the Iranian people, the president, has taken out the imminent threat that was posed by their military to the United States, to our allies in the region, to our forces in the region, and of course, as the president has long said, he hopes that Iran will be a country of peace, of prosperity, and we're moving into this next round of negotiations to hopefully come to an agreement with this new regime that will create long-term stability in the Middle East.
He has said that they should stay inside of their homes and also take back their country. So there's a contradiction there. So how do you address that?
Again, we're moving into this next round of negotiations with the remnants of the regime and those that we are speaking with now to hopefully reach a place of peace long-term for the region, and that includes the Iranian people as well. In the blue, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. The White House posted the statement from the Iranian government that passage in the strait will be coordinated with Iran's armed forces. As of today, who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
Again, these statements were put out 12 hours ago. We expect that the strait will be opened immediately. As I've said earlier, we have seen an uptick in traffic in the strait, and it's something that we are monitoring minute by minute, hour by hour as the days go on.
Who controls the strait right now?
One on the deportations
of
Iranian officials, and then on the negotiations. Are there still security concerns about Vice President Vance being part of these peace talks, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner? And then two, given the ongoing deportation of General Soleimani's niece, does the Trump administration plan to deport more relatives or people in the families of Iranian officials that are in the U.S.?
Certainly, anyone who is here fraudulently. I understand one of the individuals who their visa was revoked by Secretary Rubio and they were deported by ICE. They had a fraudulent asylum claim. That's against the laws of the United States. So anyone who is here illegally or fraudulently is subject to our nation's immigration laws and will be removed from our country. And I know this continues to be a top priority for the State Department, working in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security. With respect to the safety of the Vice President, we fully trust the United States Secret Service to do their job, to keep the Vice President and the President's negotiating team safe. They do a tremendous job, and we fully trust them to do that.
Caroline.
In the back, go ahead.
The President has said Cuba is next. What's the message to the American people regarding Cuba, and what can Cubans expect in relation to this statement?
Well, look, I think when President Trump said that, and he later clarified after making that statement, that he meant the Cuban regime is bound to fall. The country is very weak. They're in a very weak position economically, obviously, financially. The Cuban people are fed up with their government, as they should be. And these talks and discussions continue to happen at the highest level of our government. I don't have any updates or announcements for you with respect to Cuba policy today. Good to see you.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary Hegseth said this morning that U.S. troops would be sticking around. Can you expound upon that, what we should expect from U.S. troops in theater for the next 2 weeks and beyond?
I would defer you to the Pentagon for any specifics on assets that have been in place in the Middle East, but take the Secretary at his word, and also the President has reiterated this as well in his own words, that we're not going to move anything immediately. Again, this is a 2-week ceasefire where we hope at the end, and we expect at the end, we'll have a good agreement between the United States and Iran, but in the meantime, we're going to ensure that our military is always at the ready of the Commander-in-Chief. I'll take a couple more in the back. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
On NATO, I'll take your question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Caroline. On NATO, can you tell me, is the United States still considering withdrawing from NATO? Is that still a possibility?
It's something the President has discussed, and I think it's something the President will be discussing in a couple of hours with Secretary General Ruta, and perhaps you'll hear directly from the President following that meeting later this afternoon. Thank you, everyone.
All right, y'all. So that was the press conference that Ms. Karoline Leavitt had today regarding the ceasefire. Standing on business regarding, what happened. Like I said, they mentioned about the Hormuz Strait, the conditions, if you will, the ceasefire, all those things. And as we discussed at the beginning of all this, that, there's issues now surrounding what's going on in Lebanon. According to Iran and Pakistan, Lebanon is part of the truce. According to Israel and Trump, it is not. So I don't know. And according to what we read from Trump's Truth Social post, the contents of the 10 points that they're working around are close hold. So I don't know. Let's see. We have David Zarowski saying Trump cannot lead NATO until the Senate approves. That's correct. Chamavia says the world's against Israel and USA. Okay, we got Craftsman saying if the straits were moving, China wouldn't be talking them into opening it. China is playing both sides, in my opinion, but China has been getting their oil. Yeah, they've been getting their oil. Yes, they have, and they've been getting at a really good price too, from my understanding. Then we have Craftsman saying because it's awful funny, India, China, and everybody's saying they're running out of oil. I haven't heard China say that, but maybe that's something new today. Okay. So let's see. We have David Zarowski saying Hormuz will remain closed until there's a ceasefire. They allow a couple of boats. There was a few boats that went through today, to my understanding. But I think now they're trying to say, okay, well, with Lebanon still having their war going on with Israel, they're now trying to not fully open it. Because I think Trump is expecting to go back to being open like it was before the war started. I don't know if that's going to be reality. But We're gonna now move over and check out what JD Vance has to say. He's still over there in Hungary, and so he has some thoughts regarding this ceasefire. Let's get into it.
Vice President JD Vance in Budapest and hear what he has to say about Iran.
Yes, that's why I was a little late this morning. I was very late last night and talking about that. Look, I do think there are good developments here. And let me just say a few things. First of all, what the president set out to do was decimate the Iranian military, decimate their ability to wage conventional war. And that military objective, as the president said yesterday, as I said yesterday, has been achieved. And because of that, what the president did is he basically issued an ultimatum to the Iranians. He said, open up the straits, stop trying to hold the world's economy hostage, and we'll engage in a ceasefire. And that's exactly the agreement that we came to last night. The Iranians have agreed to open up the straits. The United States has agreed to stop attacking. And that, not just the United States, but also our allies have agreed to stop attacking. And that is the basis of this fragile truce that we have, which is now, 8 to 12 hours old. Now, here's what I'll say about this. I've learned a lot about the Iranian system and a lot about the way the Iranians negotiate. As the president told me last night, the Iranians are better negotiators than they are fighters. I'm sure they don't like to hear that, but it's true. But here's a couple things. So, one, just in the response that we've seen from various segments of Iran, you have on the one hand people within Iran who have responded very favorably. The foreign minister who said, look, we agreed to the United States' terms. We'll do a ceasefire, we'll do a negotiation, we'll open the Straits of Hormuz, and then we'll see if we can come to more agreement down the road. So some of the people have responded favorably and have said the right things. And then you have some people on social media within their system who are basically lying about what we've accomplished militarily. They're lying about the nature of the agreement. They're lying about the nature of the ceasefire. And so you have just, even within their system, and this is why I say this is a fragile truce, you have people who clearly want to come to the negotiating table and work with us to find a good deal. And then you have people who are lying about even the fragile truce that we've already struck. And that's just an interesting thing about their system. And the final point that I'll say about this is the President of the United States has told me, and he's told the entire negotiating team, the Secretary of State, the Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, he said, go and work in good faith to come to an agreement. That is what he has told us to do. If the Iranians are willing in good faith to work with us, I think we can make an agreement. If they're going to lie, if they're going to cheat, if they're going to try to prevent even the fragile truce that we've set up from taking place, then they're not going to be happy. Because what the president has also shown is that we still have clear military, diplomatic, and maybe most importantly, we have extraordinary economic leverage. So the president has told us not to use those tools. He's told us to come to the negotiating table. But if the Iranians don't do the exact same thing, they're going to find out that the president of the United States is not one to mess around. He's impatient. He's impatient to make progress. He has told us to negotiate in good faith. And I think if they negotiate in good faith, we will be able to find a deal. But that's a big if. And ultimately, it's up to the Iranians how they negotiate. I hope they make the right decision.
Republican member of.
Hold on. Okay, so he's talking about Iranians coming to the table to negotiate in good faith. So let's see. We're gonna do a poll. Do we believe that both parties are negotiating in good faith? Let's see. It's called self-preservation. Let's see. Yeah, do you guys believe, I know I spelled preservation wrong. Do you guys believe that they're actually coming to the table in good faith, like the United States and Iran? Like, what do we think is really going on here? Because I just can't believe that this Lebanon situation isn't already addressed in this ceasefire. We have, let's see, we have Capello saying that someone is not man enough. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's move on. We have Manuel Daniel saying Trump has no cards to make a deal. We have Leon Biam saying Zion puppets. We have James Harris saying King Trump. So it's Capello. We have Chambia saying we don't want you in our soil. We are done with you guys. I still don't know what soil you have, but okay. All right. Then we have Bo Monkey saying that Carpello is my pixels trigger. You're very fragile, honey. I don't know what y'all got going on. But what you're gonna find interesting here is Mr. Chris Cuomo had a bipartisan debate on his show, and he had a Republican and a Democrat talking about, you know, they were talking about the ceasefire and if the United States has met the objectives that they intended to meet when it comes to this whole Operation Epic Fury. It got quite testy, but let's go ahead and take a look at that.
The House Foreign Affairs Committee, Mike Lawler, a Republican, New York, and leading Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, Democrat, Washington, Adam Smith. It's good to have you both. First of all, so for the Democratic perspective, this is obviously an easier sell. You're not at 60 days under the Federal War Powers Resolution law, but is this the moment for Congress to say, Mr. President, you've done enough, Adam. You can't legally do more by yourself. You need to come to us. Is this the moment for that?
Yeah, I forgot that they still haven't even went to Congress to even ask to be having this war. I forgot all about that aspect. Ooh, let's keep it going.
Yeah, I wouldn't focus on the legality. That's part of it. I would focus on the policy. It's a terrible policy. You can get into all kinds of debates about the War Powers Resolution, what power the commander-in-chief has, doesn't have. This is bad policy, and members of Congress should do what we can to try and stop it, and passing a War Powers Resolution would do it. I think you summed it up fairly well. We've not made any progress on getting Iran to abandon its nuclear program. I'm sorry, but the previous commentary drove me a little bit crazy there. Oh, we had to do this because of their nuclear program. So glad we did. We've done nothing to set their nuclear program back any further than where it was before. You're correct. We also don't have clarity on exactly where it's at, but we haven't done anything to affect that. All we've done is solidify the regime. Yes, we've taken out a bunch of their missiles. We've reduced that somewhat, but the core goal of getting Iran to change its posture hasn't happened. And you're right. Bombing a bunch of train stations and power plants isn't going to change that. They got to get to a negotiated settlement. I'm relieved tonight that they got to the ceasefire, but this war was a mistake from the beginning, and Congress should act to end it now.
Mike, you're patiently listening, but your face tells the story. You don't like any of that. There. Why?
As a New Yorker, I'm not going to hide my feelings. Look, the bottom line here is Republicans and Democrats have said for decades that Iran cannot possess a nuclear weapon. They have said that this regime needed to go. For my colleague to say that nothing has been done, the fact is in 5 weeks, the regime itself, the Ayatollah, the clerics, the leadership of the IRGC have been eliminated. The ballistic missiles capabilities have been severely diminished. Their naval fleet, much of it has been obliterated. To say that nothing has been accomplished or done over these 5 weeks is absurd.
I did not
But what
say
you're
that.
showing tonight on your screen, what you're seeing is Israel continue to be under threat and attack, which it has been for years by the Iranian regime and its terror proxies in the north, in the west, in the east, in the south, okay? Hundreds of ballistic missiles flying. If the United States took on one ballistic missile into our country, what would we do? We would respond with the full force and weight. And yet you have Democrats like AOC saying that we should not support Iron Dome. Adam, why don't you say tonight, where do you stand? Do you agree with AOC that we should no longer fund Iron Dome?
Let's stay out of this partisan politics stuff. AOC isn't in this
Just answer my question. Adam, answer the question. Answer the question. Do you agree with AOC, the leader of the Democratic Party?
Mike,
Mike,
we got the
this
question.
is ridiculous.
Mike,
and this is a clown show. You want to have a conversation?
All right,
I'll have a conversation. I don't have any problem.
No, this is a very serious issue that you guys have allowed to devolve into a partisan political fight. You have allowed it to devolve into a partisan political fight because you hate the president so much that you're actually rooting for failure in Iran. It's shameful.
This is the type of partisan crap that the American people hate. He won't address.
You are rooting for failure. It is pathetic.
Okay,
Mike,
you can't stop
let me
talking
offer.
because you know how wrong you
All right, hold on, guys, please.
I'll answer
please,
the question.
Please. I know, but just hold on a second. I don't care about the question. We all know the answer to the question. Here's the thing, Mike. You can't. Mike, you can't have it both
what is
ways.
the answer? I don't know what his answer
Mike,
is.
all right, fine.
I don't know
Adam,
what his
answer the
is.
question, and then let me have my show
Is
back.
he going to
Go
stop
ahead.
talking? Maybe we need to shut off his mic so we can actually have a conversation.
Ceasefire. No, I don't do that. Mike, just let him
Israel's
answer.
right to defend itself. You know, I've had protesters out front of my house screaming at me at 5 o'clock in the morning because I voted for that. You're setting up a straw man false argument because you don't want to face the reality of what's happened here. What I said.
No, it's not a false argument.
Oh, here we go. What I said,
no, Mike, let him finish. I'll come back to you.
Is that we made no progress setting back their nuclear program. And then I very specifically said we made progress on hitting their missiles and their other capabilities. But the promise of this campaign was a fundamental change in Iran's approach. And we have not set back their nuclear program. I know you always want to debate the craziest position you can, but it would be far more interesting if you would just debate me and the actual issues that are in front of us.
Yeah. Adam, to say that we haven't set back their nuclear program is absurd. Last summer, the president ordered a strike on 3 nuclear facilities.
Since this
to
war
say somehow
started,
that was not successful is
started.
absolutely absurd and belies logic.
Hold on.
All right, Adam,
guys.
Number one, number two.
Guys, hold on.
Number two.
Mike,
I
hold
let
on.
you
Let's
finish,
go.
Adam.
Wait,
I let you finish.
Mike, I know it's not Adam. It's Chris. This is my show. It's the big head in the middle.
No, you didn't.
Listen, Mike. Let's just do one point at a time, okay? Mike, you make a good point. Last summer, the president bombed Iran without going to Congress, said it was imminent, never proved it, said he obliterated the nuclear program, and then several months later, they were stronger than ever. That is not proof of your premise that we did a great job with it then or now. Before this war, gas prices were down and the strait was open. Now the strait is closed and gas prices are up. This is not an easy sell for the American people. How do you make it, Mike? I'll let you answer.
Okay, again, last summer, all right, the president ordered a strike against 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities. It was successful. To say otherwise defies logic, number one. Number two, okay, they were mass producing ballistic missiles. Why? Because this was a terrorist regime in effect for 47 years that was hell-bent on developing a nuclear weapon. So they were mass producing ballistic missiles. The president made a decision to take action and end this reign of terror. We have eliminated the Ayatollah, the leadership of the IRGC, the clerics. To say that nothing has been done to change their direction is wrong. This regime was unwilling to negotiate anything up until today. You actually have a potential pathway, not just for a ceasefire and the reopening of the Straits of Hormuz that you're talking about, Chris, but you actually have the pathway to a longer-term deal. Why? Because President Trump actually took action, unlike President Obama, who sent pallets of cash in the hopes that somehow that would prevent them from developing a nuclear weapon, or President Biden, who tried to renegotiate the Iran nuclear deal and lifted sanctions on the oil trade, the illicit oil trade. That is what funds Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and others. So give me a break about this nonsense that somehow we have not taken decisive action.
I'm not giving you a break, Adam. I'm coming to you for the last word. But Mike, look.
Yeah, I'll be very quick.
No, I'm going to give you the last word.
I'm sorry. I got it, Chris.
Go ahead, Adam, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know, you talk about the bundles of cash. I mean, Trump lifted oil sanctions to the tune of $14 billion for Iran in the middle of this war. So I don't think that's a particularly consistent position.
Joe Biden allowed hundreds of billions of dollars to go to the Iranian regime. Give me a break, Adam. You are so full of it. It's embarrassing.
If I had
embarrassing.
To defend Donald
It's
Trump,
embarrassing,
I wouldn't
Adam.
let anybody
Pathetic.
else speak either. If you had
absolutely
to
last word,
I understand why you
last
don't let
word,
anybody
Adam.
else
Mike.
talk.
Ceasefire on your mouth. We don't need insults. It's not what we do. Go ahead.
All right,
Adam.
that's fine. I mean, I can see why he doesn't want to defend Trump's positions on this. So I did my best. That's all.
I have defended it, and unfortunately, you have capitulated to the far left of your party and AOC, your leader. So just answer the question: do you agree with AOC that we should no longer fund the Iron Dome? Just answer the question. Do you think we should no longer fund the Iron Dome?
When you keep saying answer the question and you keep talking, it just makes you look like a jackass, frankly. Okay?
All right, fellas.
Fine.
That's enough.
No, Adam,
that's enough.
I'm asking you a very straightfortforward question. It's a very straightforward question on a policy dispute that your party is engaged in.
Mike,
but you won't
Mike,
shut up
he
long enough for
already answered it. It was a cheap shot to begin with, and you're the one doing what you accused him of.
It's not a cheap shot. AOC,
yeah, of course
AOC
it is.
and
AOC is not
who
the
you
leader
have
of
on
anything.
the show frequently, have come out
and
and
they
said
are
it.
welcome to come. And they are welcome to come. But they're not the leader of anything,
And I'm
they're
asking
entitled
him
to their own
because
opinion.
he's the ranking member.
He answered the,
He's the ranking member on the Armed Services Committee. He's the ranking member. This is a decision that he's going to have to answer for.
And Mike, he answered the question.
Not even paying attention to what's going on here? Are you in a different studio or something?
Mike, I hear you. I'll tell you what's going to be ironic the next time we have a conversation about 8-9 days from now. I will bet you that the deal they come up with, and I hope they come up with a deal, just to be clear that you don't think I want America to lose, Mike. I just feel that America's losing right now in what's going on.
I didn't say
But when the deal comes up, I bet you it looks a lot like the deal that you piss all over that Obama and 10 other countries put together with these guys. I bet you it looks a lot the same. Adam, I got to jump. Thank you.
Guarantee
Mike,
it doesn't.
Thanks, Chris.
I'll see you
I
again.
guess we're going to see
Don't guarantee because you won't want to pay.
Go ahead, Cuomo. Don't guarantee because you won't want to pay. So we're going to wait and see what this deal looks like. Cuomo's saying it's going to look like what they had before with Obama and whoever else. So what do you guys think? I told y'all it was a bit testy between these two, this Republican and this Democrat. I was like, oh my goodness. I don't know how Cuomo had the patience because I would not have it. I don't have that patience, y'all. I do not. That's a lot of going back and forth over talking. I can't deal with it. Okay, so we have, first of all, if you're still here hanging out, it's 151 of you guys. Please like the stream, push me into the algorithm, and if you don't mind, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you have been here before today, go ahead on and subscribe. You know you like it here. Let's keep it going. But what we got here in the chat, we have David Zarowski saying they are trying to justify this illegal war. Craftsman is saying that IBM would have been next with their nuke. If you don't know that's intercontinental ballistic missile. Okay. Sergio, let me know he was about the soup guy. Let's see. We have Rob Davis let us know that the price of oil as of today is $94 to $96 per barrel. Okay. And then we have Craftsman agreeing with David on something. And he said that, and for me, David, that's what this war is over. Okay, the nuclear material. Okay. Then we have Ars Bellica saying those Marines and those Marines and 82 Airborne is for seizing oil. Okay. Got you. Thank you for that. David Zarowski saying, well, the agreement made by Obama is going to be better than any New Deal. Okay. Bull Monkey says, if we can't see the 15-point plan and the resulting 10-point deal to compare, then it means nothing. Okay. Craftsman saying, as long as Trump's top 5 is on it, I'm happy. All right. So as you guys probably know, let's see, Pete Hegseth had a press conference day as well, him and General Caine, and they had some comments to be made. So we're going to go ahead and get into that, y'all. Okay.
Iran has been a threat to the United States and the free world for 47 years. Chants of death to America, targeting our people, killing Americans, lying and blackmailing their way toward a nuclear weapon, so they thought. No longer. Not on our watch. Other presidents marked time and kicked the can down the road. President Trump made history. From the strike that
He
took
did
out
make some
Qasem
history.
Soleimani, to tearing up the disastrous Obama-Iran deal, to the precision campaign that obliterated Iran's nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer, to the decisive military victory we just achieved in Operation Epic Fury. No other president has shown the courage and resolve of this commander-in-chief. President Trump forged this moment. Iran begged for this ceasefire, and we all know it. As the President truth this morning, a big day for world peace. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory on the battlefield. A capital V military victory. By any measure, Epic Fury decimated Iran's military and rendered it combat ineffective for years to come. You see, in less than 40 days, one of our combatant commands, Central Command, CENTCOM, using less than 10% of America's total combat power, dismantled one of the world's largest militaries. The world's leading state sponsor of terrorism proved utterly incapable of defending itself, its people, or its territory. We untied just a fraction of our strength, and Iran suffered a devastating military defeat. Together with our Israeli partners, America's military achieved every single objective, on plan, on schedule, exactly as laid out from day one. Iran's Navy is at the bottom of the sea, whether it's the Soleimani class, their frigate class, their prized drone aircraft carriers, submarines, mine layers, sunk. Iran's Air Force has been wiped out. Iran no longer has an air defense, any sort of a comprehensive air defense system. We own their skies. Their missile program is functionally destroyed. Launchers.
I'm going to say it again. They said that we own their skies, but we just had that F-35 that got shot down and having to, go and rescue those two pilots. Okay? Let me keep this thing going.
Production facilities and existing stockpiles depleted and decimated. And almost completely ineffective. Iran shot hundreds and hundreds of missiles and one-way attack drones at our aircraft carrier. They were obsessed with it, and they never got even close. Every single one of those shots easily shot down miles and miles away from the Abe Lincoln. They were blowing ammo into Fantasyland. Contrast that with, most significantly, in last night's wave of more than 800 strikes, we finished completely destroying Iran's defense industrial base, a core pillar of our mission objective. What little they have left buried in bunkers is all they will have. They can still shoot, we know that. Their command and control is so decimated they can't really talk and coordinate, so they still may shoot here and there, but that would be very, very unwise. But they can no longer build missiles, build rockets, build launchers, or build UAVs. Their factories have been razed to the ground, set back in historic fashion. You see, had Iran refused our terms, the next targets would have been their power plants, their bridges, and oil and energy infrastructure. Targets they could not defend and could not realistically rebuild. It would have taken them decades, and we were locked and loaded. They couldn't defend against it. President Trump had the power to cripple Iran's entire economy in minutes, but he chose mercy. He spared those targets because Iran accepted the ceasefire under overwhelming pressure. The new Iranian regime understood that a deal was far better than the fate that awaited them. This new regime just happened to look at what happened to their predecessors. Their top leadership was systematically eliminated. The previous Iranian supreme leader, dead. The Supreme National Security Council secretary, dead. The Supreme Leader Office Advisor, dead. The Supreme Leader Military Office Chief, dead. The defense minister, no longer with us. The IRGC.
How they know all these people have passed away? Let me stop. I mean, but really though, I mean, I know about the Ayatollah, some of the key people, they know about all these folks that on the line from this war. That's interesting. I guess it was like intel or something. Let's keep going.
Dead. The Armed Forces General Staff Commander, dead. The Intelligence Minister, dead. The IRGC Navy Commander, no longer here.
Okay.
The IRGC Intel Chief, dead. I skipped over a bunch, and I could go on and on and on, to include the new so-called new Supreme Leader wounded and disfigured. This new regime was out of options.
And you know what? We haven't heard or seen from the new Ayatollah in about 2 or 3 weeks. So I guess he really must be disfigured and laying low. I don't know.
So they cut a deal. They know this agreement means that they will never, ever possess a nuclear weapon. Under the terms, any nuclear material they should have will be removed. Any material, they should not have will be removed. Right now, their dust is deeply buried and watched 24/7 overhead. The president has been clear from the beginning, there will be no Iranian nuclear weapons. Period. Full stop. Other presidents said it. President Trump did it. Operation Epic Fury. Less than 6 weeks, clear mission, decisive action, overwhelming firepower, America first, a historic battlefield victory. For decades, Iran killed Americans with roadside bombs in Iraq, using cowardly proxies to do their dirty work while they hid safely in Tehran. They struck our embassies with car bombs and attacked from the shadows, never daring to face us toe-to-toe. They thought they could bleed America with impunity. Well, they just learned the hard way what happens when you try to fight us directly. And even when they got lucky, one time in 40 days, and downed 2 of our pilots, they couldn't hold them. In a daring 14-hour rescue operation, 7 hours in daylight and 7 hours of night, both pilots were recovered safely. Not once, but twice. A daylight thunder run right up the middle of their country. Boots on the ground. A midnight raid right up the middle of their country. Boots on the ground. 0 American casualties. The Iranians humiliated and demoralized. We control their fate, not the other way around. That's why they came to the table. Iran's defeat is America's retribution for every American lost to Iranian terror, especially those brave troops killed by Iranian-made roadside bombs in Iraq that my generation knows so well, and for the suffering their regime has inflicted around the world. Now we have a chance at real peace and a real deal. The War Department, for now, has done its part. We stand ready in the background to ensure Iran upholds every reasonable term. And as everyone knows, nobody makes a better deal than President Trump. To the warriors of Epic Fury, I say well done. You're the backbone of our country. Your skill, your bravery, and sheer guts and grit showed the world what America is all about. I'm proud of you. We're proud of you. President is proud of you. Job well done. But stay vigilant and stay ready. To the families of our fallen, your sacrifice was in service of a historic cause, and we will always remember your heroes, our heroes. We will continue to honor them. And to our Israeli allies, thank you for being a brave, capable, and willing ally on this battlefield. The rest of the world and the rest of our so-called allies saw what real capabilities look like. They should take some notes. Our troops, our American warriors, deserve the credit for this day. But God deserves all the glory. Tens of thousands of sorties, refuelings, and strikes carried out under the protection of divine providence, a massive effort with miraculous protection. Dude 44 Bravo spoke for all of us. God is good. The chairman will now provide an even deeper military detail on the historic success of Operation Epic Fury. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so what y'all thought about Hegseth speech? We have Cherry, who aren't just saying blah 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 blah. We have David Zarowski saying achieve nothing. Israel forced America into this illegal war. Then we got K Axis 26 saying God's insane. Let's see. Then Craftsman said, let me guess, dead. Lord. Then we got Cherry Huerta saying, Cherry Huerta saying, God is not with you, the devil is with you. Okay, if you're still here hanging out, please make sure you like the live stream. Push me in the algorithm. Also, please go ahead and subscribe. You know you like the vibes, honey. Go ahead and subscribe to that notification bell, okay? So we just got to hear what Hegseth had to say. We're gonna hear what General Caine had to say. General Caine is with he ain't with the nonsense. He give it to you straight and he's sticking to the facts, okay? As far as like what the military accomplished. He doesn't let any of the outside stuff, get involved. So let's check out what he had to say.
On February 28th, the President of the United States ordered the Joint Force to execute Operation Epic Fury with the direction to accomplish three distinct military objectives: destroy Iran's ballistic missile and drone capabilities, destroy the Iranian Navy, and destroy their defense industrial base to ensure that Iran cannot reconstitute the ability to project power outside their borders. Over the course of 38 days of major combat operation, the Joint Force achieved the military objectives as defined by the President. We welcome the ongoing ceasefire, and as the Secretary said, we hope that Iran chooses a lasting peace. But as Secretary Hegseth said, let us be clear, a ceasefire is a pause, and the Joint Force remains ready, if ordered or called upon, to resume combat operations with the same speed and precision as we've demonstrated over the last 38 days, and we hope that that is not the case. I want to congratulate and thank the leadership today at U.S. Central Command, including the Commander Admiral Brad Cooper, the Deputy Commander Lieutenant General Kevin Leahy, the Senior Enlisted Leader Fleet Master Chief Compton, and every one of the component commanders, senior enlisted leaders, and especially the staff down at U.S. Central Command, who does not get called out for any of the credit, but grinds 24/7 to help offer the options that we bring to the Secretary and the President. I also want to highlight the forces in the United States European Command under the command of Alexis Grinkowicz, who protected the western flank in support of CENTCOM. And I want to thank our partners across the intelligence community. Our ability to see and understand what an adversary is doing help us to be as decisive as we must be on the battlefield. And that includes DIA, NSA, NGA, the CIA, and the National Reconnaissance Office, and others. I want to thank the other combatant commands who have thus far contributed along the way to U.S. Central Command. This includes Transcom, Stratcom, Spacecom, SOCOM, and Cybercom, all of whom poured all in support of CENTCOM's efforts. And I want to thank, as the Secretary did, our Gulf partners who fought alongside each and every one of us every day. From the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and Jordan, all who joined us together to defend and protect our people and our assets, and who, if required, stand ready to do so again.
I thought Trump said nobody came to help the United States. When did these people step in? Let me know in the chat. Let's keep going.
And I want to thank my team at the Joint Staff who work literally around the clock in order to help me offer the options that I must with the associated risks to the Secretary and to the President. They are the hardest working people that I know, and I am deeply grateful for their service. Most importantly today, I want to thank America's members of the Joint Force who've poured everything that they can into Operation Epic Fury, and their families who've worked 24 hours a day for 38 days. The Secretary and I could not be more proud of each and every one of you. And we deeply appreciate the support of the American people, who we know always have us in our thoughts and prayers. And we can feel this literally every single day. As the Secretary said, the United States has devastated the regime's ability to harm Americans and our interests for years to come. Since the beginning of major combat operations, the United States Joint Force has struck more than 13,000 targets, including in that 13,000 more than 4,000 dynamic targets that popped up on the battlefield and were immediately addressed, thanks to the exceptional command and control system and intelligence, acumen, and agility of our Joint Force. CENTCOM forces destroyed approximately 80% of Iran's air defense systems, striking more than 1,500 air defense targets, more than 450 ballistic missile storage facilities, 800 one-way attack drones storage facilities. All of these systems are gone. We've devastated Iran's command and control and logistical networks, destroying more than 2,000 command and control nodes and degrading their ability to target U.S. and friendly forces. It is, and we know this, incredibly frustrating right now to be a lower level Iranian commander trying to fight your fight. As the Secretary said, the Iranian Navy now lies mostly at the bottom of the Arabian Gulf, and we assess that we've sunk more than 90% of their regular fleet, including all of the major surface combatants, as the Secretary said. 150 ships are at the bottom of the ocean, and half of the IRGC Navy's small attack boats. Joint fires projected from the land, sea, and air executed more than 700 strikes against naval mine targets, and we had assessed that we destroyed more than 95% of their naval mines. And perhaps most importantly, we've destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, their ability to reconstitute those capabilities for years to come. We attacked, along with our partners, approximately 90% of their weapons factories. Every factory that produced Shahed one-way attack drones was struck. Every factory that produces the guidance systems that go into those drones was struck. Their missile defense industrial base is shattered, with more than 80% of their missile facilities gone, as well as their solid rocket motor production capability. It will take years for Iran to rebuild any major surface combatants, as more than 20 naval production and fabrication facilities have been damaged or destroyed, and nearly 80% of Iran's nuclear industrial base was hit, further degrading their attempts to attain a nuclear weapon. Throughout Operation Epic Fury, our joint force struck at the heart of Iran's ability to project power and threaten the United States and the region. And in order to do this, it required the service and sacrifice of more than 50,000 American warfighters deployed across CENTCOM, EUCOM, and stateside. The Joint Force flew more than 10,000 missions, including 62 bomber missions, 18 of which flew round trip from the United States to deliver bombs on military targets. Each of these missions was more than 30 hours in duration, and we did that 18 times. No other military in the world can do that. And it's a testament to the logistical force that quietly serves behind them. I cannot thank TRANSCOM and the Air Force Tanker and Mobility Force more. Combined with Army and Navy joint fires, we struck more than 13,000 targets. And along with our Gulf partners, we've thus far intercepted 1,700 ballistic missiles and one-way attack drones, defending our forces and our partners in the civilian population. And we remain ready to do so should the need arise. Along the way, we consume more than 6 million meals, and by my estimate, more than 950,000 gallons of coffee, 2 million energy drinks, and a lot of nicotine, but I am not saying that we have a problem. I've laid out the statistics.
You got personality.
But it does not truly capture the nature of combat. This is gritty, and unforgiving business. It's chaotic, it's hot, it's dark, it's unpredictable, and there's always unknowns. And our people proudly walked into those unknowns and continue forward. And through it all, the Joint Force has demonstrated the unwavering resolve that the nation demands of us. We are a mission-focused force, and our objectives always is to create the conditions for peace, and today we have, while be ready should that peace break, which we hope it is not, and we remain ready. Before I turn it back to the Secretary, I also want to quickly revisit the rescue of the Air Force fighter crew over the weekend.
This is going to be
To
interesting.
give you an update, we've had, the Secretary and I have had the profound honor of speaking directly with many of the warfighters on that mission, from the downed crew that were picked up to those forces that went and got them. Hearing these stories firsthand has only deepened our appreciation for their tenacity, creativity, courage, and grit of the American Joint Force. This is a story that gets to the very heart and soul of who we are as a joint force, who we are as Americans. Selfless sacrifice in service of others. From the backseater, Dude 44 Bravo, whose pure and unadulterated joy at seeing those helicopters come into the valley to get his front seater in daylight because he knew the front seater did not have a jacket, and was so filled with heart-leaping joy at his front seater getting picked up, to the nighttime folks that went in and then got him, to the tanker forces that did the things that they had to do to give their own gas away, to the support packages, to those that went into the desert landing site not once, not twice, but 3 times as we fought through multiple contingencies. This was and is a joint force that has the guts to try, that does not quit, and who each and every day does the things that we must to dare to win. No lives were lost. We succeeded because the joint force is always at the ready. They trust each other, they trust their leaders, and they trust their training. And they remember first, foremost, and always that we do these things so that others may live, and we will never leave anyone behind. The success of Operation Fury thus far, and we hope it remains, culminates with this incredible rescue over the weekend, a direct example of the professionalism and courage of the United States military and our joint force. It's the service members on the front lines, our partners in the region, our teammates in the intelligence community, our civilian leaders in the OSW side of the house, the American workers who build the tools and weapons that we use, and the American people who back us up that help us to go do these things. I stand here humbled today, but frankly not surprised by what the Joint Force has been able to do. Their performance is fueled by a deep commitment to each other, their mission, and to our country. It is an incredible, deep honor for me to be a part of this Joint Force, and I'm humbled by the service and sacrifice each and every day that I am lucky enough to see. And finally, as I always do, I ask that we never forget our fallen and their families, especially those 13 fallen from Operation Epic Fury. May we always be worthy of their sacrifice and honor their legacy.
Okay, so interesting. Okay, so we got his perspective, and he gave a little bit of insight regarding, the 2 gentlemen that were rescued this past weekend from the F-15 that got shot down. That's a good thing. But one thing to know, he did reiterate that they weren't going to leave nobody behind, because Trump said the other day that the military wasn't necessarily in support of him going back to try to get that last pilot, but he did anyway. So General Caine isn't going to say anything blatant, but the fact that he reiterated that statement, letting you know, okay, we're going to be clear that we're not going to leave nobody behind. All right, sir, we hear you. Now, what was really interesting was the Q&A. And I was telling you guys in the chat how Hegseth got a little annoyed with a couple reporters. Let's go ahead and hit that real fast, okay? Oh, wait a minute.
Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. First of all, thank you to our troops. What role is our military playing in escorting vessels through the Strait of Hormuz at this point? And the president said on Truth Social that the U.S. will be hanging around to make sure everything goes well. Obviously, Mr. Secretary, you just mentioned, we know the scars from hanging around in Iraq for decades. But what does that entail in terms of our military presence at this juncture?
Yeah, we'll be hanging around. We're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure Iran complies with this ceasefire and then ultimately comes to the table and makes a deal. So we'll stay put, stay ready, stay vigilant, as the chairman laid out. Our troops are prepared to defend, prepared to go on offense, prepared to restart at a moment's notice with whatever target package would be needed in order to ensure that Iran complies. As far as the Strait, you saw the initial agreement that was struck, which is Iran's letting ships go through. So there'll be that will be happening. They will be sailing, and ultimately, as the president, I mean, we've done an incredible job militarily inside the Strait of Hormuz. What Admiral Cooper, I failed to mention Admiral Cooper's name. He's done a phenomenal job, along with everybody at AFCENT and ABCENT and ARCENT and all the components down there, laying the groundwork for Iran. Iran doesn't have the same ability to defend it the way they did before, and so as the president has pointed out to the rest of the world, we barely get any of our energy out of the Strait. Just a tiny fraction. It's time for the rest of the world to step up and ensure that that stays open after President Trump and the War Department brought Iran to the place where they are voluntarily opening it right now, as was announced last night. Yes, Jared.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you both for the update. President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning that there has been a very productive regime change in Iran, and that there will be no enrichment of uranium, and the U.S. will work with Iran to dig up and remove the deeply buried nuclear dust. So I just have two questions here. So both you, Mr. Secretary, and the President have referred to a new regime in Iran. So is this not the regime that was at war with us for 47 years? And what do we think of when we're saying that this is a new regime? What are we thinking and what are we saying there? And then my second question is, with any future deal with Iran, is their handing over of all of their enriched uranium and they're promising not to enrich any future uranium a non-negotiable for the U.S.?
Well, it's always been non-negotiable that they won't have nuclear capabilities. And so right now it's buried and we're watching it. We know exactly what they have. And they know that, and they will either give it to us, which the president has laid out. They'll give it to us voluntarily. We'll get it. We'll take it out. Or if we have to do something else ourselves, like we did in Midnight Hammer or something like that, we reserve that opportunity. But what's clear, what the new Iranian regime knows, is they'll never have a nuclear weapon or the capability to get a path to one. As far as the new regime, you heard the list that I read. It's a new group of people who've seen the full capability of the United States military and has a new calculus about what it means to negotiate with us, hence why they came to the table wanting a ceasefire and the shooting to stop. So this new regime, which the regime has been changed, has a different interaction with the U.S. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, thank you.
Of course. I was going in front. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary and General Caine. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. Two questions. Iran has said that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible in coordination with Iran's armed forces and, quote, technical limitations. What do you believe that means? And then we've also heard reports that Iran has continued striking targets well into this morning. At what point are we beyond a grace period? Are we giving them a grace period? Is there a miscommunication there? What's going on with that?
What we know is that Iran is going to say a lot of things. A lot of people are going to say a lot of things, claim a lot of things. What has been agreed to, what's been stated, is the strait is open. Our military is watching. I'm sure their military is watching, but commerce will flow. And that's what you saw the markets react to, is that reality. As far as shooting, that we were monitoring it last night in real time. Of course we are. Iran would be wise to find a way to get the carrier pigeon to their troops out in remote locations to know not to shoot any longer one-way attacks or missiles, because it takes time sometimes for ceasefires to take hold. We're watching it. We're prepared if necessary, but we hope and believe that it'll hold. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Why are you so rude? Just wait. I'm calling on people.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Yesterday in the President's Truth Social, he threatened to wipe out a civilization. That statement.
Do you all think that Hegseth was rude for telling that person that they were rude? What do you guys think? Because I've seen some other people comment saying that he was so rude to that person, but I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm gonna put a poll in the chat. Let's keep it going.
Elicited a huge response in America. If Iran did not come to the table and make a deal yesterday by the deadline, was the president really prepared to wipe out Iran entirely?
Like I said, we had a target set, locked and loaded, of infrastructure, bridges, power plants. Remember, this is a terror regime, the military regime. Used all of these things for dual use to fund their military, to fund their terror campaigns. We had a lot of legitimate targets. They knew exactly the scope of what we were capable of. We hit some military targets on Karg, which is a bit of a signal. They can't defend it. And so Iran ultimately understood their ability, their future, to produce, to generate power, to fuel their terrorist regime was in our hands, was in President Trump's hands. That's why they came to the table. He ultimately said, we can take it all from you. Your ability to export energy will be taken away. And the United States military has the ability to strike those things with impunity. That type of threat is what brought them to the place where they effectively said, hey, okay, we want to cut this deal. Yes, right here.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. David Zier, Real America's Voice. During the ceasefire, what do we do when we see Iran rearming, regrouping, repositioning weapon systems and air defenses? And also, have we confirmed the specific model type of air defense or man pads that took down our F-15, and is it still a threat for our patrols?
They're not going to tell you that, sir.
We're still working through the specific details around that particular shoot down. And the crews, when they normally return, go through a debriefing process along with the other members of that flight that were out there. And they'll go back, as they always do, and forensically look at what are the tactical lessons learned. Did we sense or see something? Could we have done something different? We do that, as I mentioned in a prior press conference, every single time we take any loss like that, so that we become a quick learning organization. On the other part of your question around the movement of Iranian military forces, U.S. CENTCOM will continue to monitor that situation. They will continue to have a series of response options, and if need be, will come to the Secretary and to the President for guidance and be prepared to do the things that they're ordered to do so against valid military targets in accordance with the normal procedures that we have.
I would just note, it's a good question. The more Iran moves forces, the more they emplace forces, the more easily targetable they are for us right now. Remember, we're able to look, we're able to see, we're able to sense. We know so if they try to preposition, they're just creating riper military targets for us to strike should they make the wrong decision at the table. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, Louis Martinez with ABC News. First, a question to General Caine, sir. In your personal opinion, were the risks of the Strait of Hormuz being closed because of the conflict, were they mitigated early enough in part of the decision-making process to lead up to the decision to take action against Iran? And in your opinion, is Iran in control of the Strait of Hormuz? We just heard the Secretary say that Iran is letting the ships through, which would imply that potentially it's not just. The Secretary also said that the U.S. That the strait is open. You did say that, sir. But in your opinion, sir, how can the U.S. ensure safe passage? Mr. Secretary, can you say today that the United States the administration achieved the military goals that you've constantly delineated? But strategically, is that a victory because of that? And also, you said earlier that the president chose mercy. But you yourself had said 3 weeks ago that we will give no quarter to Iranian troops. How do you correlate those two? And do you think that your comments may have put American troops at risk?
No. I try to be nice up here, but you did listen to what I said, right? I laid out the objectives. We believe we've accomplished them, and it's a historic military victory. And President Trump has the option as the commander-in-chief to compel an adversary to the table, which is precisely what he did. And at the end, he chose to say, you know what, I'd rather talk to you at the table than obliterate your capability to export oil and fund your terror regime. So he did make that choice. That was his choice. He was a president of peace, and he's been willing to make those really tough calls that the American people elected him to do. Nothing we've done, not a single thing we've done. This is a typical, of course, it's ABC. Not a single thing we've done has put an American troop in more of a harm's way. We've only set our troops up to harm Iranian military capabilities, which they've done to devastating fashion and to great success. Mr. Chairman.
Hold on. So he just said we don't put our troops in more of harm's way? Is that what he said? Okay.
There's a lot in that question. I'd love to take that offline and answer it, but I'm struggling to find exactly what your question was, and that's probably me, not you. No. Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman, it was an indictment framed as a question, so you're forgiven for not understanding. Go ahead, please. No, you've had your chance. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much.
I believe so, based on the diplomatic negotiation. So I believe so. I believe
nice
so.
To see you.
Yeah, sorry.
Mr. Kurd or Rahim Rashidi from Kurdistan. I'm representative Kurdistan TV and Kurdistan 24 today. I have two questions. Mr. Secretary, will your forces stay in the region and continue to defend and protect your allies and take the responsibility for their security? Second question is, as you mentioned many times, that you have full control of Iran airspace. Do you still have this control or not?
Well, thank you for the question. The chairman mentioned the UAE and Bahrain and Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, who have fought shoulder to shoulder with us, especially in defense of our facilities, of our people, of their facilities, and we appreciate that. So that coordination, of course, will continue. And then when it comes to the skies over Iran, I would point to Exhibit A and Exhibit B, 7 hours in the day, 7 hours at night. If any foreign adversary had attempted to do the same over our soil, they would have no ability to do so. Will they have a system here or there? Maybe. Do they have a network, a system that's capable of defending their skies? No, they don't. It's, as the chairman laid out, that's been dismantled, degraded, and destroyed. So it's a slight distinction, but an important one. Yes, right here. Go ahead.
General George in the middle of a war.
Excuse me. You got a question? Go ahead.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Two questions actually for you. So during this time, is the president are you still encouraging civilians to rise up against the regime, or are they satisfied with this new regime change, or is this two-week period to kind of see where that leads? Also, talked about the enriched uranium going in there. Would that require special forces or other military, our service members? Who would be basically going in there and trusted to going in there to get that uranium out?
Mm-hmm. Again, on the uranium, we're watching it. We know what they have, and they will give it up, and we'll get it, and we'll take it. If we have to, we can do it in any means necessary. So that's something the president is going to solve for. We already have with Midnight Hammer, with the place we put them in, and the reason it's in the situation where it is. The second one was about the people. Listen, I would love to see the Iranian people take advantage of this opportunity. They have been oppressed by the previous regime, and they'll have a new opportunity with this regime. That remains to be seen. That was not our objective in this effort, but they're brave people. Horrible things have been done to them by the previous regime. Tens of thousands targeted and killed and assassinated in a way the government never should, and we wish them the best. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, so are the Iranian people really oppressed? I'm gonna put that in the chat. Are they really oppressed? because they were out, excited, parading in the streets yesterday. So I'm just trying to understand, am I missing something? Let me go back to some of these polls I've done. I haven't acknowledged any of the polls. I got to get back on it. My apologies. I asked you guys, do we believe that both parties are negotiating in good faith? 64% said no, 18% said yes, 18% said it's called self-preservation. Okay. The next poll, let me scroll to it. Oh, where is it at? I know I did a few of them today. Okay, the next poll was, do you think Hegseth was rude by telling that reporter that he or she was rude? 50% said yes, 50% said no. Okay. And then we have I'll let this poll keep going. But next up, what I want to show you guys, I want to show you the Iranians out in the streets rejoicing, okay? Because of the ceasefire. Let's get into it. Now, I don't know what they're saying in the background, but I'm assuming they're saying unaliving America or something. I don't know. If you're Iranian, let me know what they're saying in the background. They out there, in full force, okay?
هرچی که از آقا بگن ما مطیع امر رهبریم، نه یه قدم جلوتر از آقاییم نه یه قدم عقب‌تر. صلاح بدونن آتش بس میکنیم، صلاح ندونن تا ابد ما حاضریم تو خیابون بمونیم و بجنگیم. ما پیرو رهبری هستیم، هرچی رهبر بگن سمعاً و طاعتاً. پایبند که نیستن، ولی خب الان بازی عوض شده. الان آمریکا فهمیده که ابرقدرت ایرانه. قطعاً اگر عمل نکنه ما جور دیگه‌ای باش برخورد میکنیم.
They burned the United States flag and the Israel flag. Oh yeah. Y'all see why I'm a little confused about whether these folks are open? Do you see why I asked the question? Okay, so we got Bull Monkey saying that it looks like they are celebrating not getting nuked. Okay. Then we have David Zarowski saying Iranian people are oppressed by their own government. Pierre Power says that yes, they are. They still don't have basic human rights. Okay. And then we have why does this thing keep getting in the way? We have Ultra MAGA Patriot saying Trump armed the Iranian people starting back in January. The Bumaki says at STEM, we are all oppressed. It's to what degree we are oppressed that is open to interpretation. Okay. Wilbur Howard said, yes, that punk was rude. And David says, I will wait and see what America will do to get their nuclear material. Now, what we got down here? We have SKK saying, why America cares so much about human rights. I'm reminded of Guantanamo Bay, Abu Ghraib, McAllen. Where are the cries of human rights? Okay. We got Ultra Mega saying, long live the king. David is saying, however, Iran also does not want to be a U.S. proxy like they were in the 1970s. Then we have Bumaki saying, oh my God, they are burning fabric. So yes, thank you, Mr. Lou. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. If you like the vibes, please do all of those things. Okay, help your girl out. All right. So Mr. Bull Monkey sent me a video regarding Jesse Ventura, and I did fall asleep while I was trying to watch it. So luckily, I woke up in time to stop the recording of it. But we are going to get into this video with Jesse Ventura. And yes, he was the WWE or whatever wrestler dude he was, okay? And he was kind of interesting from what I could recall. So let's go ahead and get into it. And thank you, Mr. Bull Monkey, for sending me the video. And you were my first person to ever post anything on the community wall. Thanks again. Let's get into it.
Well, Jesse Ventura is a former US Navy SEAL, a former professional wrestler, a former actor, and a former governor of Minnesota. We've had many memorable interviews over the years. I'm pleased to say he joins me again now. Jesse, how are you?
I'm doing good, Piers. It's been a long time for you and I. I tried to retire, but unfortunately, they sent the Gestapo to my high school and they hit it with chemical weapons, which are a war crime. And that brought me back out of retirement to stand up against the war criminal in the White House.
Wow. Well, that sounds suitably dramatic.
Well, that's the way it happened. I mean, I was retired. I hadn't watched the news since the last election. My son said, "You're way better, Dad. You're not tense anymore. Keep it up." And then lo and behold, these ICE characters, I call them the Gestapo, and I think I can do that. And let me get something straight right now, Piers, so people know where I'm coming from. My uncle Emil fought in World War I. My parents both fought in World War II. My father had 6 bronze battle stars in Europe. My mother was a nurse in North Africa, which predated Normandy, fighting Rommel, the Desert Fox, the greatest German general.
Okay.
Both my parents were World War II veterans. My brother and I are both Vietnam veterans and member of the Navy UDT SEAL. We both did 2 tours to Southeast Asia. So everyone in my family is a war veteran. I wanted to get that out right now, so it'll help with the things that I'm going to say to you in the moments to come.
Okay, sir.
So ICE agents came to your school, you said?
What's that?
You said the ICE agents came to your school?
Yeah, the ICE agents came to the school where I went to high school, chasing some guy down just like the Gestapo. And I heard people were offended calling them that. Really? I can tell you right now, if my parents would have been alive and they would have seen what happened in Minneapolis, they would have called it the Gestapo too. So they come to my school, they use tear gas and pepper spray at the school. Now here's a question I have, Piers. My uncle Emil fought in World War I and he was gassed. He came home, but his life was ruined. He could never do anything. What did they do? They outlawed it. Gas using chemical weapons became a war crime. Why is it that you can't use them on your enemy, but you're allowed to use them on your own people? That has always been, where is the media on this? You know, using chemical weapons against our own people, which is in essence a war crime.
Well, I think I wouldn't describe the gas used by ICE agents as chemical weapons. I mean, that infers weapons of mass
tear
destruction.
gas. They're spraying people from 6 inches away right in their face. I can't use that in war. I wasn't allowed to carry tear gas or any type of chemical weapon in war. It's banned from war. It's considered a war crime. You can't use it against your enemy, but you can use it against your own people. Doesn't something ring wrong there for you, Piers?
Well, a lot rang wrong about what was going on in Minnesota, and I'm very glad that it has been resolved, at least for now. And I think
it hasn't been resolved.
Well, no, not completely, but
nothing's been resolved.
No, I understand.
We have 2 dead people here.
Yeah,
2 people were killed by the Gestapo here.
Yeah, I understand. And those investigations are ongoing, but at least the ICE activity that was going on and the way it was being conducted has been removed from Minnesota, which is a good thing. And I thought what happened was appalling. And I said so at the time. Let me ask you about Iran and your view of this war.
Well, here's how I feel about it. There's a simple thing as a leader. And you know this, having been in the military. Trump wouldn't know it because he's a draft-dodging coward. But anyway, it's this. A war is justified if you're willing to send your kids. Because how can you send somebody else's kids to a war if you won't send your own? So I'm calling right now for Barron Trump, Donald Trump's son. You know, after all, he's had 3 wives, he's had kids by each wife, and nobody's ever served in the military. To my knowledge, a Trump in the last 100 years has never done military service. Well, Barron, you can change that. Enlist in the United States military right now. Do something your father didn't have the courage to do. Do something your father didn't have the patriotism to do. I want to see a Trump in the military. Everybody in my family has served, so I think I can say that with all due confidence. Come on, Trumps. Don't just reap the benefits of this free world. Somebody put on the uniform, and that's you, Barron. And I heard the excuse that Barron might be too tall. David Robinson served on active duty. He was 7 feet tall before he ever went to the San Antonio Spurs basketball team. David Robinson went to the United States Navy Military Academy. He's one of my officers, not directly, but he would have been.
Okay, look, it's one argument that a Trump should serve. That's a perfectly reasonable argument to make. A lot of people feel that way. But it doesn't change what's going on in Iran. What is your view of this war? Do you think it's a legitimate war? Many people think that the Iranian regime has been the instrument of terror through the Middle East for 48
Of course they
years.
have been. Of course they have been, Piers. But wait a minute. Trump then calls you guys NATO cowards. Wait a minute. NATO is set up to protect. That means that if a NATO country is attacked, they will all join together to repel it. It doesn't go in reverse. It doesn't mean if one of the NATO countries starts a war that all the others have to join in. That ain't part of the deal. The deal is protection, not aggression. And we started this war, and then he's calling you guys a bunch of cowards because you won't come in and help him. Well, why didn't he talk to you beforehand? And second of all, that isn't what the mission is. The mission is to protect the countries if they're attacked, not to go on the offense and do the attacking.
Okay, but do you think America was justified in joining Israel in the attack on Iran?
No.
Why
Absolutely not. Because we started the war. I'm not for starting any war. We fired the first shot. Plain and simple. You want to put it in Rambo terms? We drew first blood.
Many would argue, of those who support the war, that Iran had drawn a lot of blood through this regime for a very long time. They had supported and propped up. Well, hang on, Jesse. They had armed groups like Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah for decades. They had wreaked utter havoc, drawing enormous amounts of blood, and that actually the reason America and Israel had to deal with them now was that they were imminently going to get a nuclear weapon and may well use it. What do you say to that?
Well, here's what I say. Let's get the real history in. You know, I listen to people like Congressman Lawler in New York. They all love to go back to 1979, the day the Ayatollahs took over. They conveniently don't go back to when I was alive. I'm a little older than them. Let's go back to 1953, shall we? When Iran had a Democratic elected president, the United States didn't like him. We pulled a coup d'etat, and what did we do? We stuck the authoritarian dictator, the Shah, in power. That's when the I Hate America started, was way back in the 50s when we interfered in their democratic elections. But how convenient we are that we forget that. Then in 1979, what took place? The Ayatollahs took over, who were probably worse than the Shah. But let's remember, the hatred of America was started by America. It was not started by the Iranians. We interfered in their government way back in the 50s and overturned their democratic elected president. And then the dictatorship started with the Shah and now went to the Ayatollahs. And here we are today. But I'd like for Congressman Lawler to at least try to go back in history from before he was born to see what could have occurred and that the United States was the person that caused the hatred between the two countries.
You know, Jesse, I know you're very scathing of Trump now. There was a time when you were on more friendly terms. Here's a clip from you both at WrestleMania 20.
You know what? I think that we may need a wrestler in the White House in 2008.
When you look at that, Jesse, I mean, that was 12, 13 years ago, I think.
Right.
Trump has also been made a WWE Hall of Famer, which I know has angered you.
Yep.
How do you feel now looking back at that clip?
I feel that simply I was doing my job. I was doing what I was asked to do at the WWE. Trump being a Hall of Famer is a tragedy. This guy has never been in the ring. I got a good friend, Ken Patera, Olympian, First man to overhead press 500 pounds. 25 years in the wrestling business. Kenny Patera is not in the Hall of Fame. Donald Trump does not belong in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He never earned it. You know what I had to do to get in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame? At one point in my career, I wrestled 63 consecutive nights in a row. That's how you get in the Hall of Fame. When I was referring to putting a wrestler in the White House, I was talking about me, not him.
Really? That was a bit ambiguous.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the former governor.
Hold on. Who he said a lot right here. Let me, okay, he said he was going to put himself in the White House, not Trump. Okay.
Has been the instrument of terror through the Middle East for 40
Of course they
years.
have been. Of course they have been, Piers. But wait a minute. Trump then calls you guys NATO cowards. Wait a minute. NATO is set up to protect. That means that if a NATO country is attacked, they will all join together to repel it. It doesn't go in reverse. It doesn't mean if one of the NATO countries starts a war that all the others have to join in. That ain't part of the deal. The deal is protection, not aggression. And we started this war, and then he's calling you guys a bunch of cowards because you won't come in and help him. Well, why didn't he talk to you beforehand? And second of all, that isn't what the mission is. The mission is to protect the countries if they're attacked, not to go on the offense and do the attacking.
Okay, but do you think America was justified in joining Israel in the attack on Iran?
No.
Why not?
Absolutely not. Because we started the war. I'm not for starting any war. We fired the first shot. Plain and simple. You want to put it in Rambo terms? We drew first blood.
Many would argue, of those who support the war, that Iran had drawn a lot of blood through this regime for a very long time. They had supported and propped up. Well, hang on, Jesse. They had armed groups like Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah for decades. They had wreaked utter havoc, drawing enormous amounts of blood, and that actually the reason America and Israel had to deal with them now was that they were imminently going to get a nuclear weapon and may well use it. What do you say to that?
Well, here's what I say. Let's get the real history in. You know, I listen to people like Congressman Lawler in New York. They all love to go back to 1979, the day the Ayatollahs took over. They conveniently don't go back to when I was alive. I'm a little older than them. Let's go back to 1953, shall we? When Iran had a Democratic elected president, the United States didn't like him. We pulled a coup d'etat, and what did we do? We stuck the authoritarian dictator, the Shah, in power. That's when the I Hate America started, was way back in the 50s when we interfered in their democratic elections. But how convenient we are that we forget that. Then in 1979, what took place? The Ayatollahs took over, who were probably worse than the Shah. But let's remember, the hatred of America was started by America. It was not started by the Iranians. We interfered in their government way back in the 50s and overturned their democratic elected president. And then the dictatorship started with the Shah and now went to the Ayatollahs. And here we are today. But I'd like for Congressman Lawler to at least try to go back in history from before he was born to see what could have occurred and that the United States was the person that caused the hatred between the two countries.
You know, Jesse, I know you're very scathing of Trump now. There was a time when you were on more friendly terms. Here's a clip from you both at WrestleMania 20.
You know what? I think that we may need a wrestler in the White House in 2008.
When you look at that, Jesse, I mean, that was 12, 13 years ago, I think. Trump has also been made a WWE Hall of Famer, which I know has angered you.
Yep.
How do you feel now looking back at that clip?
I feel that simply I was doing my job. I was doing what I was asked to do at the WWE. Trump being a Hall of Famer is a tragedy. This guy has never been in the ring. I got a good friend, Ken Patera, Olympian, first man to overhead press 500 pounds, 25 years in the wrestling business. Kenny Patera is not in the Hall of Fame. Donald Trump does not belong in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He never earned it. You know what I had to do to get in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame? At one point in my career, I wrestled 63 consecutive nights in a row. That's how you get in the Hall of Fame. When I was referring to putting a wrestler in the White House, I was talking about me, not him.
Really? That was a bit ambiguous.
Absolutely. I was the former governor of Minnesota. I'm the only real former wrestler. I don't include him. He's only in the Hall of Fame because he stopped an investigation against Vince McMahon, sexual stuff.
Do you intend to run again for governor and therefore maybe president?
I don't necessarily intend to run again, but I'm working on something that could send me straight to Washington and go face to face with this guy.
Really? What, you would run for
president?
president?
Maybe in the works.
I mean, he can't run for president again, so what would that involve?
Well, you'll have to find out, wait and see. I'm not going to spill it here.
You're not going to crash
But I'll put it to you this way. Wait. Piers, I'll put it to you this way. We withstood the onslaught of the Gestapo in Minnesota. Well, I was taught in war to do this. You ensure that your backyard is secure. That's the first thing you do. Well, Minnesota's now secure. We've repelled the onslaught from Trump. Now it's time for us to go on the offense. So maybe it's time to send the Navy SEAL to Washington. Maybe it's time for a showdown between the Vietnam veteran and the draft dodger.
Do you actually mean a physical confrontation? Or?
No, but if he wants it, he's in the Hall of Fame. Let's both get in the ring.
I mean, there is a UFC.
After all, he's in the Hall of he's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
Right. I mean, there is
even though he's never ever had a match.
Right. There is a UFC whole event going on imminently at the White House. Maybe they could extend it and have you against Trump.
Do you think he'd have the guts to do that? Are you kidding me?
Well, when he got shot, Jesse, to be fair to Trump,
wait a minute, Piers.
To be fair to Trump, when he got shot,
I'm going to tell you.
When he got shot, he got back up and said, fight.
Oh, yeah, right. You ever hear of a blade job? Anyway.
A blade? What, you think he was fake?
Anyway, I don't know. Where's his scar today?
Somebody died, literally, sitting behind him.
I don't know. You know, come on, Piers. You're going to tell me this guy's a big hero now?
I thought that day he was.
That's what you're going to tell me?
That day he was.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, well, then he accomplished what he wanted out of you guys.
No, I think you can be heroic on one day and you can be less heroic on others. But if you ask me, was he heroic when he got shot? Yeah, and I think those who try to pretend he wasn't actually shot or anything, it's ridiculous.
You're right. You know what I feel bad about was that if he'd have joined us in Vietnam, we might have won, huh?
No.
He could have put us. Why did he run and hide when he could have joined us and led us to victory?
I don't think anything would have changed the fortunes of the United States in that war.
Yeah, probably not, considered he called us all suckers, didn't he?
What would you say to Trump if you had a chance to speak to him?
I'd prefer not to speak with him. I don't have really. What would I say to him?
I don't know.
You know, to me, he has no courage. He never has. I'll tell you what he is, Piers. Everybody knows these people. You're with a group of guys, and there's always one guy who will start the fight and then hold your coat. That's Donald Trump. He'll start the fight, but he'll hold your coat, and then the next day he'll tell everybody how tough he was.
Jesse Ventura, it's great to see you've lost none of your fighting spirit in the many years since I last interviewed you. Thank you very much.
Lord, he was something else. He said, start the fight, but hold your coat. I'm just typing that out, y'all. So what did you guys think about Mr. Jesse Ventura? That man he's still feisty at 70-some years of age, okay? Let me see what you guys had to say. We got David saying Iran is an epic failure like Vietnam. We got Dodd saying they need to stop creating wars just so our kids have to fight them. Send the politicians. Then we got the P Foot production saying suckers and losers, and that was only Jesse. Ralphie 8189 says he's low class. Now it's 206 of y'all. Please make sure you like the live stream and go ahead on and subscribe since you're hanging out. It's free, okay? We have PRJ saying no, he wasn't. He's insane. Bull Monkey says that man has charisma at 74. He definitely got charisma. Yes, he do. G Bar says trumpets getting triggered by Jesse. Mr. Lou says we think you should play Fortunate Son. Laugh out loud. Wesley Hola says hello. Okay, y'all. We have Ralphie 8189 saying Jesse led corrupt Minnesota. We got the first Avenger saying the body spitting facts. Shimshu Anu said that Jesse is an American hero. Okay. Then we have Critical 509 saying that Jesse, the body Ventura is triggered right now. Let's say Dodge is saying don't trust any politicians. Bull Monkey says that Jesse seems to have triggered the viewers that never comment. Okay, so yes, y'all, we have finally watched this video from Jesse Ventura that Mr. Bull Monkey has asked me to look at, and it did not disappoint. It did not. So y'all, we have been on here for 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 14 seconds. And we have kind of looked at the aftermath a little bit of what happened with this ceasefire. Okay, we heard from Miss Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary. We heard from P. Hegseth and General Caine with the military perspective. We heard from Mr. J.D. Vance and what he had to say. We saw the Iranian people being excited about what's going on, whatever that is for them. We saw or we had a bipartisan debate about whether or not the objectives have been met. If we met those objectives that Trump and Hegseth and whoever else have been talking about so aimlessly, okay? And then we got to see Mr. Jesse Ventura and see all his feistiness, okay? So yes, y'all, we have had a day, okay? And I have got to get up at 4:45 in the morning to get ready for work and to go into DC. So I am going to go ahead and log off. I will see you tomorrow though at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a good night. Bye.